Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. I have the honor of having, I think these guys are just going to basically buy up every multifamily that exists on the planet because they are on fire right now. We have Mr. Dustin Miles and Hayden Harrington. How's it going, boys?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Y'all been rocking and rolling. And I think what I want to do first is Dustin, I'll let you start and kind of tell your story and kind of where this partnership got started, or real estate, or wherever you want to share.
We I guess kind of met over 3 years ago now, almost 3.5 years. And we just kind of honestly met up for lunch and met at this Indian restaurant over in Arlington that I like, and he lived in Dallas, I live in Fort Worth, about an hour apart, so we kind of met in the middle. And he was like, "Hey, let's do a meetup." And I was like, "There's at the time in DFW there were probably no, I'm not exaggerating, there were probably a dozen meetups around multifamily." And I mean, there was literally a meetup, I think it felt like every other day. And I was like, man, I don't like to get into a really crowded space. Like I, want to be able to succeed and all that. So anyways, just, talked me into it. And, we were going to, he had some really good ideas about doing things differently and all that, and kind of let him expand on that. But so anyways, that's kind of how it kicked off, and then it grew from a meetup into a partnership and offering on deals and all that. So that's kind of how it started. But yeah, Hayden, I don't know if you want to kind of jump in and kind of expand on any of that.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how it all went. When I was just starting out, I had some real estate experience in the past, but it was on the single family side. And I knew on the multifamily side, after talking to some people, having some doors closed, I know you needed to add a lot of value to somebody if you want a seat at the table, if you want to be a part of these larger deals. And frankly, I couldn't write a huge check like is required for some of these deals. So I added value in a different way by bringing people together and hopefully building an investor list that then we could go raise money from. So that was kind of the idea behind the networking event, and super grateful for Dustin to take a chance on me. I think a lot of it was, I was a little ignorant to the fact of, the whole industry in general. And I think that actually helped because, just starting out, I was young and hungry and just kind of willing to put in the work and not really pay attention to everything else that was going on. But like Dustin mentioned, I knew we needed to do something different to stand out, and pretty pleased with how it went. The event grew, and I think it helped a lot of people. We saw a lot of partnerships come together as a result of it, people doing deals, which is really inspiring to see. And then last year we were able to do 2 of our own down in Houston. So it's been a great journey.
And what do you, before the company got formed, kind of what was the genesis or the mission statement or whatever to be different? What was the factor that you saw?
The biggest thing was, after just going around to networking events, I realized that it was kind of the same. They were all done at restaurants, and it was crowded, it was noisy. And the problem with that was, for me personally, it was just kind of solving a problem for myself. I'm naturally more introverted. And when you network at a restaurant, you typically sit in your seat at the table and proceed to stay put for the next hour or two. So, I'd walk away from those events being kind of disheartened, like, man, I got 2 business cards from this event. Like, this is going to take forever to grow my network and get where I want to go. Right. And so brought the idea to Dustin. I was like, hey, what if we make this a little bit easier for people just to connect? You walk away with a stack of business cards as opposed to, a handful. And that was the whole premise of the event, was like, let's kind of incorporate a little bit of speed dating into this process and get it outside of a restaurant, so it makes it easy for people to move around and connect with each other, and then tack on an educational aspect as well. So, not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but just doing something a little bit different that people aren't used to try and stand out from the rest.
A lot of people, I get this question a lot. A lot of people, they won't start a meetup or something, even though there's a need for it, or something that they believe in, because they say they don't have the experience, or, who am I to have a meetup or something like that? Like, what would you tell them, Dustin? Like, what's your philosophy on stuff like that?
Yeah, so we talked to a lot of people that want to be co-GPs, and we have a we don't really advertise it. We have a small little co-GP mastermind that we run as well. And I mean, and so a lot of people are like, hey, how do I get started and all that? I mean, I think Facebook groups are a great way to go. You can start just do a Zoom meetup. I mean, there's plenty of people who've started Zoom meetups from scratch. And so, I mean, if you're working in a W-2 and all that, and you can do a Zoom meetup, maybe at your lunch hour or right after work or something like that. I mean, that's totally, something you do. And then one kind of just nugget that has worked, I think, really well for us. The real estate's a team sport. You've heard that thrown around a lot. Both Hayden and I played sports growing up. So like when we, kind of got into multifamily, it's like, oh, it's another sport is what it feels like. And so it feels very natural, but we're very collaborative. And, we do a lot of events with different people. We've done 2 larger events this year, and they were with other people, and it was a win-win all around. It benefits everyone, gives everyone really good exposure. And so I guess I wouldn't don't there's a book by Dan Sullivan of he has a program called Strategic Coach that I'm a part of, and it's called Who Not How. And so it's really just about who do you connect with, who can you kind of bring together, and who can maybe fill some holes that maybe you need to be filled. So really, I don't know. I think, a podcast, you can do podcasts and all that, but I really like Facebook groups, like meetups, and where you can bring people together, and you're offering value not only for potential investors if you're going to be raising capital, but you're potentially offering value for other potential collaborators in the future. So
yeah, basically since January I've basically read every Dan Sullivan book that exists. So I'm obsessed with the guy, his outlook on life. I think that he gives you very tactical information in an easy to consume form, but with a lot of power behind it. I think the self-managing business book is basically the roadmap to every one of my businesses is moving forward. I think it's an amazing book, Who Not How, all that kind of stuff. So what was the first deal that you bought together as a company?
So the first deal we bought together, we bought it, a little over a year ago. So it's called the Henry at Liberty Hills. We, 228 doors. It was built in 2012 down kind of northeast Houston, just south of Lake Houston. So, bought that. And, we had some other partners, with us, that kind of helped, put the deal together, team sport. We've just been that's been going really well. pretty excited about it. We did buy it kind of more in the depths of COVID. So we did get, especially kind of, hindsight's always 2020, right? I mean, we did, looking back, we got a pretty good deal on it, and we're just, operating it. And then, we're always kind of evaluating our options, whether we do a refinance or a sale. So we're always talking to loan brokers, always talking to property brokers, just to kind of see where we're at. And frankly, it's also helpful to go do that too, because then they can give you feedback on things that you can improve on, so we can get even better.
And had y'all bought smaller multifamily separate before you partnered up, or did you just go for the big 220 right out the gate?
So prior to the partnership with Hayden, I'd done 10 other deals. They were ranging in size between 94 units and 228. So,
and how about you, Hayden?
For me, that was my first. So I made the jump from single family to 228.
Yeah. Was there any nervousness behind it, or did you just lean on Dustin's experience and kind of the other partners in the group?
There was definitely some nervousness. Like Dustin mentioned, it was Q4 of 2020. So we were right in the middle of COVID. We had the election, we had the holidays, and then we had a humongous capital raise that we had to perform on. And that was frankly terrifying, especially, once we got into the race, because it was more challenging than we anticipated, just because there was a lot of fears out there with people. There wasn't really light at the end of the tunnel for COVID. You had, instability with what the future looked like with the election. You had, people on holiday, they're just not responding to emails and not wiring money. So it was very nerve-wracking, but, really grateful for the team we have, and we were able to pull through and get it done. And, looking back, it's going to be a fantastic deal. But even before that, so that was really, we closed that in January of 2021, and Dustin and I had teamed up early 2019. So, we had been working together for about a year. And then in March, we actually had an offer accepted on a deal up here in the mid-cities of Dallas. But March 2020 is also when the whole world shut down because of this new global pandemic. And so it was an interesting time period, to get to that 0 to 1 was, definitely a roller coaster. I remember talking with Dustin when we got that offer accepted in March, like, do we be excited, or are we fearful? Like, what's going on? The world shut down. And, we ended up losing that deal, and because the seller opted to refinance, but it ended up leading to a deal that was far larger and actually a much better deal.
I joke all the time, like, I could stop everything I'm doing right now and just study one thing for the rest of my life. And that's, how do you stay motivated as a multifamily investor on a day in and day out basis, when sometimes you go a year or 6 months or 2 years without buying a deal just because you're not acting on emotion? Like, what's your advice to anybody out there, Dustin, who's like, they've been looking for a year or 2 or 6 months or 3 months? Like, how do you combat that?
I guess kind of at this point in my career, I've done a number of deals and all that. So, feel confident that we'll get the right one. So there's that. I would say if you're brand new to this and you're still trying to kind of find your way, I would, again, kind of going back to team, this is a team sport. I would, maybe try and lean on, try and find someone that maybe has a little more experience than you do. If you're brand new, and then, kind of, as, Hayden, as we talked about at the beginning of this, try and, figure out what your angle is, what sort of value are you offering everybody, most people want to pull their own weight and all that. So just, figure out, what your angle is and what you can, bring to the table. But I would definitely try and, lean on some other people. It can be, frustrating. I mean, we were, frankly, we were told we had a deal last week, and then a few hours later, we were told we didn't have the deal, and we're like, what? So now, we've never had that before. But that's, it's part of the game. But, I guess once you kind of, find your groove and find your partner and all that, just kind of, trusting the process. And I mean, this is a long game. The deals, at least that we're going after, are very, I mean, they're large. Most of the deals we're offering on right now are, 50 million plus. And so, in our heads, we're like, okay, if we're committing, 15-20 million dollars of passive investor LP money, we need to feel pretty, we need to feel super confident about what we're getting into, about the deal, about the area, just, about all the pieces. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces, to this. So, but that's what I would say.
Hayden, is there a tactical reason why you're going after deals that big that you've seen, or is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, we've, after that first deal we did in early 2021, that's when we shifted our focus to the newer product. That deal was built in 2012, and everything that we had been underwriting and offering on prior to that was, 60s and 70s vintage deals. And, as the pandemic really dragged on, we started to assess where the risk was and where the opportunity was as well. And, we saw with no light at the end of the tunnel that there was higher risk on those older communities where, the likelihood of something going wrong is a lot higher. And then if you can't evict tenants because there is a eviction moratorium going on, that's a problem. You could have people not paying. And so, that's when we really shifted on improving the quality of asset and the quality of the tenant base that we were looking at. And as a result of that, that shift, it's really, those products are, B and A type properties, 1990s, early 2000s. The bulk of those properties are frankly larger. And then on top of that too, like we want to stretch ourselves a little bit and push ourselves because we always want to make progress too. So, you got to take kind of leaps of faith at every level. So, the first deal we did last year was 29 million. The next one was 55. And we kind of have our comfort zone where we're comfortable on. We're not going after $100 million properties right now, but we know our range. We know what we're capable of. We have a team that we are very confident in. And, as we get more comfortable with that and more confident and our raise capacity continues to go up, maybe we do start to increase our ceiling a little bit. But it's always been for us, finding that sweet spot of where we believe we're capable of, but at the same time, still pushing ourselves to be willing to get out of our comfort zones a little bit and, finding ways to improve our processes, our systems, being able to raise more equity and so forth.
How are you sourcing these deals of this size and stuff?
They're pretty much all through brokers. We've got access to RealPage too, which helps us look at underperforming assets in the metros we're focused on as well. But even as soon as we identify those, it's not like we're reaching out directly to the sellers. We're sending them to brokers, having them reach out to those sellers on our behalf too, because they know pretty much every property in any given market. So that's been our strategy.
Yeah, I mean, now that I know that that's what y'all are looking for, I got to introduce you to this guy. I'll do it after this podcast. He does 80, he does whatever, but mainly he does like 44 million up to 190 million up the West Coast. But he's done a lot of business in Nashville and Dallas and Austin, all off market. an amazing guy, knows what he does. His first deal ever was 60 mil as a broker. He's a really good dude, just straight shooter. Doesn't wear a suit, and so it's his favorite thing to like tear up the Marcus and Millichap guys because he doesn't roll like a suit, But I just love, this is such an important conversation that you're saying right now. We like to push ourselves because I really believe that, and I say this because it's happened with a client today. He's a young kid who wanted to get a multifamily, and for like 7 months, he's been trying to put a deal together for a multifamily investor in his area. A couple fell through. He just put the seller and the buyer together on a 200 unit, and he got a big check. And I said, listen, here's the deal. The mind is expanded. You can't go back now. And he's like, now I think I could do anything. He's like so excited. So like, is that kind of the, I love this, like, we're going to press ourselves. Like, obviously we're not going to get out of our comfort zone, but Dustin, do you think that that's helped kind of like push the team forward to kind of understand that, like, the mind, when you just decide that you're going to do this thing, somehow all the pieces are going to come together?
Yeah. I mean, I guess kind of go back to our first deal. I mean, frankly, a lot of people, I guess, wouldn't necessarily admit this, but, it was really hard. The raise was incredibly difficult. There were some things going kind of against us that, we started raising. We were trying to do it earlier, but we started raising right before Thanksgiving. That's a terrible time to raise money. Hey, John, can you put down your turkey leg? We got an investment deal. I mean, like, there's, just people are not. And then right after that, there's Christmas. And so, it was weird. So, I mean, frankly, we struggled to raise the funds. And so after we did close, we worked hard. It was basically, hey, we won the game, but man, we kind of got our butts kicked. And so we worked really, really, really hard after that. Okay, we're not doing that again. Like, we're going to make sure we have, our foundation, our structure is really sound. So, we struggled on that first larger deal. And then it was almost, almost kind of night and day. The last deal we did, we raised, so the first deal struggled to raise 10 million. And then this deal, we raised 15 million in 24 hours. So it was, just a night and day difference. There, obviously the environment was very different. And so that helped a lot too, but we, kind of put a lot of things in place that helped us to succeed. So, and I can't remember your exact question.
No, you're fine. That was amazing. That was perfect. Okay. But like, just from obviously not everybody in the real estate space is raising 15 and 10 million. But just from an individual, I meet people all the time that they can't mentally get over the fact that, like, I'm stuck, it's going to be another 2 years because I got to raise up 20%. I'm like, you don't need any money to buy real estate. Like, and they're like, stop saying things. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. So, like, how do you even, like, maybe they're not raising 15 million, but how do you even in the beginning, everybody started go to networking events and all that stuff, but what I suggest to people is, like, there's obviously something that you do, and there's people that in your space that probably want to invest in real estate that don't have time. But, Hayden, what would you suggest that, how does somebody go about, like, creating a network of people that do want to, invest with you and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think, you just got to put yourself out there to begin with. Try to be a sponge, go to every networking event you can, connect with everybody you can, take people out to lunch, whatever you can do to get connected is going to pay dividends down the road. And, I'm really big on just rewinding a bit and saying, why am I doing this? Because that why is what's going to really drive you to take those actions. Because a lot of those people that, are frustrated with the lack of progress and, why am I not making this happen quicker, or why am I not doing deals? And they got to really look at why they're doing it in the first place, and then also what they're telling themselves on a daily basis. If you're constantly running that inner dialogue of I can't, or I haven't, you will continue to not make it happen. So you've got to almost have a mindset shift and say, I'm going to figure this out, and just let the how kind of work in the background of your mind as you take action. And then you'll start to realize that paths and opportunities will open up for you. You'll start to meet the right people. You'll start to build that network and align yourself with people that'll help you be able to raise money. Because if you're trying to raise money for your first deal and you don't have a track record, it's going to be extremely difficult. And so, like Dustin mentioned, this is a team sport. And, the great thing is you don't have to play all the roles. Like coming from single family, I understand, that it's two different mentalities, because single family, you're for the most part doing most of it yourself. And a lot of people, when they try to make that jump, they don't shift the mindset. It stays the same. I have to do everything myself. And as soon as you get out of that and into the mindset of this is a team sport, I don't have to know everything. I don't have to have, wear all the hats in this. You can start to build your team and go further together, as opposed to trying to do it all yourself. So if you're trying to raise money, you can team up with somebody that has a track record, that can lend you their experience and reputation. And, especially starting out, when Dustin and I started teaming up, I knew that this is a reputation business. And so everything you do, especially when starting out, is a reflection of you and the team collectively. So I took that to heart, and, everything that we did together, I knew it was a reflection of myself and Dustin. And frankly, I cared a lot more about Dustin's reputation than mine, because it was non-existent at the time. So, I think aligning yourself with people that, have good morals, have good character, are doing this for good reasons, will definitely take you a long ways.
I couldn't agree. Go ahead, Dustin. I'm sorry.
One thing I just kind of wanted to mention, because I think it's almost kind of so Hayden and I both, we work out and do all that stuff. Like, it's all the same. Like, it's all the same thing. I mean, there's been, I'm sure for Hayden, same thing. There's been multiple times in sports and in working out or running or whatever, where I'm like, it isn't like there's plenty of times where I was like, I don't think I can do this. And then you train, you have a plan. And then it's like, not only did you do that, but then you blew right past it. And so, it's really about having that team, having the coach, or someone maybe with a little more experience. I think you can swap those out. But it's really just about, it's that mindset. And I had imposter syndrome from my first rental house 14 years ago up through this last deal. I mean, even though we did struggle and all that, the prior one, the $10 million raise, but it's, oh my gosh, it's 15. It's quite a bit more, and can we do this? And then we turned around and we had it raised in 24 hours. So it just, anyways, a lot of it's mindset, and I don't know, I think having a bit of imposter syndrome, too much is not good, because then you won't take any action. But having some of that, I think, helps actually kind of keep you on the edge and keeps you hungry.
I have a really good friend who's very successful, who's been a mentor to me. And he said a line on one of our podcasts. He said, there's just enough nervousness in my business to be extremely successful. And he said, I'm just nervous enough watching, iterating, here's the problem that I find with most people. they're scared to write something down or a plan or a goal because they don't want to, they're worried that they're putting themselves in a box, but understand that like you need something to kind of get started on and like go forward. Like perfect example, the guy that I mentioned that wanted to put that put the young kid that put the deal together, his goal this year was to do 12 million in transactions of real estate. He did it in 10 weeks into the year. So now we have to rewrite all the goals, but that's a great problem to have, right? And so like understanding that like as y'all continue to go down and push and push and push, it really is team. Like I don't want to do I would say one of the main things I can't stand about single family real estate is that you are on your own and it's a very small minded thinking. I want to collaborate with people that highlight my strengths and vice versa, right? Because look, let's be honest. I've got two business partners that do never want to be on a podcast ever. They don't want to be on it. They don't care. They don't have a social media team. And they're like, great, we'll just send Austin out. He's the puppet. He wants to be out there talking to everybody and they love it, right? Because they don't have to do something that they don't want to do and they just get to be who they want to be and they love it, right? And so having that is super powerful. And so as you're buying more properties, like where, and I'll ask both of y'all, like, Hayden, I'm gonna ask you because you're more new to this space. What advice would you have given to yourself before you raised money on that first deal? Now that you know where you're sitting today,
I would say, just be patient, and that'll save a lot of. That'll save a lot of like mental anguish down the road because it can be tough, especially when you're just starting out. You want, you're hungry and you're excited and you want stuff to happen now. And unfortunately, like it just doesn't happen that way, especially with these bigger deals. And so everything takes time. And that was one of the big lessons that I learned, and was just to be patient, and be okay with that, and just to reflect on why you're doing it in the first place, because it's very challenging. The barrier to entry on these larger deals is very high. If you're trying to do it all on your own too, banks won't even lend you. I mean, you really need a team, and to put that team together. And like Dustin mentioned earlier, these are long-term deals, so there's a lot of trust that needs to be built between your partners and your investors, and everything just takes time. And so if you're not willing to be patient, it's going to lead to a lot of frustration. And so that would be my biggest advice looking back, is just relax. It'll be okay as long as you're working towards it, putting forth effort every single day, and you're surrounding yourself with good people. It's not a question of if, just when, and that when may take a little while, and you have to be prepared for that.
Exactly. And so as y'all push forward into this year and you continue, Dustin, where do you see the company going, and kind of, what's the North Star for y'all, basically?
I mean, I guess the North Star would be, we're wanting to do good deals with good people. So we're patient. Obviously we want to grow and we want to build a portfolio and all that, but we want to, get into the right deals. Because anyways, but we'd like to, last year we bought 2. Our goal this year is it 4, and so we'll kind of see what that holds. But we'd like to build up a portfolio in between Houston and Dallas, and kind of our other bucket that we have. So we kind of have the larger kind of A- deals. We're also looking at some flip situations, and so kind of that bucket as well. So I'd like to grow that, and then we've been so just kind of growing the company. We kind of brought on two folks this year, and so just looking to grow the company and provide attractive returns for investors.
I have a sneaking suspicion that in that business plan, somewhere is some short-term rentals around the country, because I know my man Hayden likes to travel into the woods, right?
Yeah, we both like to hike, actually.
Yeah, I know y'all both like to hike, and I love that, because you were up in Tahoe recently when I was up there on the other side of the lake, and Dustin's always in the woods or on a mountain somewhere. So, I know that's in my business plan for my companies, kind of have that kind of space. We just offered on another property yesterday in the Smokies. It's our second one. We're already under contract on one. And, there's something about, I don't know, man, there's something about like being out there and enjoying it. And there's a reason it's so popular, because it's so nice,
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. So if people want to go to your meetups, they want to find out what you're doing, they want to track you down, like how would they do that?
Our website's Momentum Multifamily. We're both on LinkedIn and Instagram and all that. So I think it's just Dustin.Miles on Instagram, and then LinkedIn. I think my middle initials there, W. So Dustin W Miles, and email is just dustin@momentummultifamily.com.
So I'll say to both of y'all what I've only said to two other people, and I mean this completely. Knowing who you are as people and what you stand for, I would have no problem giving each of y'all $100,000 and not even looking at the deal once. And in my opinion, that right there is a sign of an amazing operator of multifamily real estate. And that's what I think anybody that's listening to this podcast should strive to be, is somebody built on integrity, values, and following through. And I think we need to remind ourselves that right there alone is far better than any real estate deal, and having that reputation like y'all spoke upon.
Yeah, no, really appreciate that. And frankly, we have investors that, if we're filling up within 24 hours, there's a good number of people not looking at stuff. And so we don't take that, take that very seriously. We don't take it lightly at all. And that's why, we're really drilling down on each of these deals and drilling down on the areas. We want to make sure we got it right. We have, it's a team sport. We have not just Hayden and I looking at the deals. We have a lot of other eyes. We're working with our lender, working with our management company, tax property consultant, insurance folks. So, we have a lot of folks, lots of eyes, lots of experience, looking at the deals as well. I wanted to make sure, Hayden, if you want to give your contact info as well, to make sure you got yours in.
Sure. Yeah, mine's pretty similar. It's just Hayden, Hayden at momentummultifamily.com. And Austin, we do different events and stuff like that. So those will probably be posted either in our Facebook page, which is just, you search for Momentum Multifamily, or our group. We actually have a Momentum Multifamily investor community on Facebook as well.
I love it, guys. And if you got some value from this, guys, send it to your friends, share it with somebody that you think gets some value, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.